What a day. Thank you, Provost Armony. President Spinelli, you are an inspired and inspiring leader. And Shika, you're a star. That was fantastic. Congratulations. So, 25 years ago, I was exactly in your seat. The tent wasn't this nice, but I wore sunglasses to mask the evidence of an epic senior week. We didn't go to Foxwoods like you guys did, but we had fun. My room in McCullough, which had been the center of my world, was empty except for stacks of moving boxes. And so because I was in your seat, I'm not here to share the familiar advice, follow your dreams, change the world, wear sunscreen. Those are nice ideas, but they really don't tell you much about the messy, exhilarating life that's in front of you. Instead, I'm going to share 3 key lessons that I learned here at Babson. What's interesting is that none of them came from a lecture or studying for exams. These are lessons that I learned from my classmates, what everybody here has been talking about, this Babson community. So here's lesson 1, see the world as it is. Like you, I took FME my freshman year. For the unacquainted on the sides, that's Foundations of Management and Entrepreneurship. It is an incredible year-long course where students develop a business plan and then launch and operate a real business. Think Shark Tank meets Survivor. Our business was delivering candy and soda to Babson dorm rooms. It was like a primitive Uber Eats. We called it Sweet Tooth. So we papered the entire campus with our brilliant clip art marketing materials. We staffed up for the orders that our very diligently made business plan foretold and opened on a Thursday. I still remember standing in Forest Hall at our storefront a week later as people sort of glanced at us and moved on. They went to a vending machine to buy drinks, and our business phone was silent. So we had an emergency company meeting in Horn Library. We need better marketing, was my idea. Another said, we need better candy. Another offered to jam the vending machines. I don't think that guy graduated. But finally, someone said, we have to face facts. They don't want what we're selling. It really doesn't matter why. The solution wasn't better marketing or operations or vandalism. It was accepting reality. We had to see the world as it is, not as we wanted it to be. It sounds simple, right? But you've studied countless cases of leaders refusing to adjust to the world as it is. Think of Kodak, or locally here, Polaroid, trying to dig a moat around their film business, while Canon and Sony saw the digital future and built bridges to it. So at Sweet Tooth, we did a survey to better understand our customers. And turns out what they really wanted was a break from studying. So we pivoted and relaunched as Flicks and Kicks. It was a candy and movie rental delivery services. So college kids thought that peanut butter cups went really well with Pulp Fiction. We became profitable, and I learned to pay attention to the market as it was. So fast forward to when my husband John and I took the reins of the Boston Globe. It was in crisis. It didn't matter that the Globe was a beloved institution and trusted brand. The company was losing money every day. The journalism was excellent, but you can't make payroll on Pulitzers. The Globe was adapting, but not to the degree required for the enormity of change happening. The whole organization still revolved on how it had been around the print newspaper. We had to accept the world as it was. Our audience had changed. The pace of news had changed. The way people got news had changed. So, were we going to dig a moat around what we were doing, or build a bridge to the future? That FME mindset of accepting and adapting helped turn the Globe around. We became customer obsessed, investing every year in finding ways to better serve our readers. We changed how and where we delivered the news. We built muscles and data analytics to inform and constantly test our strategy. The changes required were monumental, not incremental, and they had to be because the world had changed. So instead of failing, we became the modern, thriving, digital-first multimedia company that serves our community so well today, held up nationwide as a rare success story among legacy news organizations. Changing your strategy to adapt to new realities is not admitting defeat. It's the essence of entrepreneurship, whether you are in a startup or in a 153-year-old institution. Which leads me to the second lesson. Leadership is earned, not appointed. So all those profound changes that I just described, they didn't come from me. They came from every Globe team member who shares this vision for a modern media company. How did we get there? Let's go back to FME. So I was 18 years old and co-CEO of Flicks and Kicks. I had never been in charge of 40 people, or anyone really. So I took inspiration from what I knew, which was an earlier job at a hotel front desk. My boss there, Harold, had a way for everything, and when you didn't do things his way, he'd push you aside and grumble how he did everything better himself. So, as big shot FME co-CEO, I delegated poorly and did the opposite of inspire, just like Harold. I went by the store one Friday night and discovered that it wasn't open. I emailed our chief of operation, who was my friend Eric, and arrogantly scolded him for not doing his job. I'm embarrassed to reread what I wrote. We can't make money if the store isn't open. People won't give us money for just having a store, as if he didn't know that. He wrote back in all caps, "No crap." He went on, "Did you ever even consider the fact that people don't just obey your orders? We can't just make people reschedule their night." He was right. The person scheduled for that shift had had an accident. Eric had done everything I would have done, but he couldn't find a last-minute sub on a Friday night. I hadn't bothered to ask. I learned my lesson. My co-CEO, Joel, on the other hand, was lucky not to have Hotel Harold as a model. Joel asked questions, never made assumptions, and was really quick to acknowledge success. Everyone saw him as wanting them to succeed. He understood that leadership is earned, not appointed. And as I learned that Friday night, people don't follow org charts. They follow people who are actually worth following. So when I joined the Boston Globe, I had a much wiser understanding of leadership thanks to my FME classmates. I turned down a corner office, took a windowless workspace near the action. I put my head down and found ways I could help others with their work. I made clear that my job was to empower them to succeed. Of course, I had views on where to take the company, but I also knew that the people who had built their careers in the industry knew things that I didn't. So I listened to everyone. They all wanted the Globe not to just survive, but to thrive. They needed to see that I wanted that too, and that we could get there together. So when I led the decision to leave the historic, very expensive Globe headquarters, I could have announced the move by email, something I would have done before. But thanks to that FME experience, I was a wiser leader. Relocating from our home of almost 60 years was understandably an emotional move and a huge cultural change. It also directly impacted the lives of 1,465 individuals and their families, which is why I started all big changes like this as a conversation. I held brainstorming sessions across departments to understand what people needed. We posted designs, built out new desks in our old space so people could see what it looked like. We created lunch guides for the new neighborhood, and importantly, we celebrated the history that we were leaving behind so we could move forward both physically and culturally. The move was a success and a critical step for the institution. Babson taught me that leadership emerges only after you've earned it. You get there by recognizing the moments when your ego wants one thing, but the mission requires another. It lives in the willingness to absorb criticism without becoming defensive, in understanding that others' resistance can carry wisdom that you really need to just hear. The leaders I admire most listen when their instincts might otherwise urge them to speak. They question their assumptions instead of living in the certainty of their own worldview. They recognize that the goal isn't winning the argument, but advancing the mission. This is the work of leadership. Which brings me to my final lesson. Your calendar reflects your true priorities. So when I was at Babson, seniors formed 3-person teams to compete in the pub championship. Each team was required to have all 3 members go to Rogers Pub. It wasn't as fancy as it is now. It didn't have the grill part. But for Rogers Pub for 30 minutes, a few nights per week. It wasn't difficult exactly, but it required a real commitment. So my closest friends, Ashley and Megan, were forming a team, and they told me that they did not want me to join. So I thought of myself as fun, but they just didn't believe that I would make the time commitment to actual fun amid everything else I did. So like all of you, I worked hard. I joined all of the committees and all of the groups at Babson. I had an off-campus job. I was highly scheduled. But Pub Team wasn't about your resume. It was about prioritizing time together, something I said I wanted, but I didn't actually schedule. So I promised my friends, and I prioritized pub time in my calendar. They allowed me in, and I showed up at Rogers Pub every time. And we had so much fun in that scheduled 30 minutes. I don't remember if we won or not, but I do know that our time together was one of my highlights of a very busy senior year. And I carried that lesson with me today. Your calendar reflects your priorities. So every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, after my kids who are here are in bed, my girlfriends come over. We wear sweatpants, eat nachos, and just talk. This is my pub team. We commit to it. Because one of the curses of ambition is that it can fill 100% of your time, especially if you love what you do. My Sunday nachos routine might sound trivial or indulgent, but to be an effective leader at work, I need the right chemistry with other priorities in my life. For me, that's my family, my health, and my friendships. I have learned to be as deliberate and scheduled with my personal life as I am with my professional commitments. I schedule family time, exercise, and Sunday nights with my friends. You might value something entirely different, but whatever it is, schedule it, protect it, make it non-negotiable. The most successful people I know aren't just good at managing their business, they're masterful at protecting what sustains them, and their calendars are where you can see that. So looking out at you, I'm reminded of this very special Babson community that we all share. And I wanted to make sure you remember that you're part of this community. So you've probably noticed a baseball hat underneath your chair. And I had them made just for you. It's beautiful Babson green with the iconic Boston Red Sox B in the front and the class of 2025 on the back. In a few minutes, you're going to toss your graduation cap into the air, marking the end of this incredible Babson chapter. This new hat can go with you to your next chapter, connecting you to this special community and to Babson, and it goes great for eating nachos. I find it remarkable that the most powerful lessons I learned at Babson came not from a textbook, but from my classmates, from my community. Those who refused our candy and taught me to see the world as it is. The coworker who shined a light on how to be a leader and not just a boss. And my friends who taught me to make my calendar reflect my values and that today nachos are a meaningful time for me. But then again, maybe it's not so remarkable. The real point of Babson isn't the books and papers, it's this community of people who pass through here every 4 years, mostly teaching each other. I'm so grateful that I had that experience. I'm thrilled you did, and I'm excited to have you join me as alumni. I wish you every success. Good luck.